The hour of 6:30 having arrived, I will call to order the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Ugair. Here. Alder Ugair is present. Alder Harrington McKinney is excused. Alder Lankella. Here. Alder Lankella is present. Alder Lieberman. Here. Alder Lieberman is present. Alder Madison. Here. Alder Madison is present. Alder Martinez Rutherford. Present. Alder Martinez Rutherford is present. Alder Matthews. Here. Alder Matthews is present. Alder Mayor. Here. Mayor is present. Alder O'Brien. Here. O'Brien is present. Alder Ohovich. Present. Alder Ohovich is present. Alder Pritchett. Here. Alder Pritchett is present. Alder Tischler is excused. Alder Revere. Here. Alder Revere is present. Alder Vitterer. Here. Alder Vitterer is present. Alder Zhang. Here. Alder Zhang is present. Alder Duncan is excused. Alder Evers. Here. Alder Evers is here. Alder Field. Here. Alder Field is here. Alder Figueroa-Cole. Alder Figueroa-Cole. Alder Figueroa-Cole is present. Alder Glenn. Here. Alder Glenn is present. Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. So this is the first meeting of this council in this room where you're actually going to be using the technology. Most of you know how to do this, but just in case, your little microphone has a little button on it. If you press the button, it shows up on my screen that you want to speak, and I can call on you. Once your mic is on, you have the ability to turn it off. So if I have turned your mic on and you want to keep speaking, don't press the button again. If you want to stop speaking and you're done, then you press the button. If you forget, I probably got you. But just small orientation to technology. Reminder to address your remarks to the chair. Others are limited to speaking twice on a motion for a maximum of 10 minutes. Not that you should feel the need to do that. And if you have questions, you can ask for a point of clarification or a point of order, and we can pause and explain or detail a motion. If you get confused about where we are in the order of motions or anything, I'm happy to help with that. And as usual, I will remind us that we are here to do the business of the people of the city of Madison and ask that we do that with grace and kindness. And in particular, that all concerned refrain from using any profanities in your remarks this evening. That said, are there any disclosures or recusals on items on tonight's agenda? Alder Field.
Thank you, Mayor. Disclosing that on item 51, I work at UW-Madison, but that will not affect my vote.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other disclosures and recusals? Alder Matthews.
I just wanted to disclose that I also work at UW-Madison, but that will not impact my vote.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Mayor.
Disclosing on item 51 that I work at UW and it will not affect my vote.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other disclosures or recusals on items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, then we will move to the presentation of the consent agenda. President Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. A consent agenda is moved with the recommended action listed for each item on the agenda, except items which have registrants wishing to speak, items which alders have separated out for discussion debate purposes. This document lists supermajority items, agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda, items for exclusion, items from the floor, and agenda items with corrections. So, agenda items, there are supermajority items. Supermajority items will be recorded as unanimous votes unless a roll call or exclusion is requested. Agenda item 16, legislative file 92928, report of the Common Council President submitting alder committee appointments to the Common Council Executive Committee and Ethics Board. Business presented by the President of the Madison Common Council, 14 votes required to adopt under suspension of MGO 2.055. Agenda item 37, legislative file number 92782, 2026 Board of Assessors appointments, report of city assessor, 14 votes required to adopt. Agenda item number 39, legislative file number 92397, approving a certified survey map of property owned by the Madison Metropolitan School District located at 7333 and 7341 West Town Way, District 9. Report of Department of Planning and Community and Economic Development, 14 votes required. Agenda item number 40, Legislative file number 92475, amending the Police Department's 2026 operating budget and authorizing the mayor and chief of police to accept a year 2025 U.S. Department of Justice Edward Byron Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for $88,319 and to utilize these funds to support law enforcement initiatives. Report of Finance Committee. Agenda item 42, legislative file number 92598, amending the 2026 Police Department operating budget and authorizing the mayor to accept a Wisconsin Violence Prevention Program grant of $59,650 for an 8-month gun violence reduction initiative to support those at risk. Report of Finance Committee. Agenda item 45, legislative file 92748, substitute, amending the 2026 water utility capital budget to include $2 million of additional budget authority to the Unit Well 12 reconstruction project, District 11. Report of the Finance Committee. Agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda. Legislative file, or agenda item 3, legislative file number 92616, appeal of the Plan Commission action on a conditional use request for 5555 Odana Road and 5534 Medical Circle, Legistar ID 915212, appeal withdrawn at request of the appellant. No action is needed by the Common Council. Flip over. And agenda items excluded by 1, request of voters, or 2, speakers registered by noon on today, May 5th. Number 40, or agenda item 40, legislative file number 92475, amending the Police Department's 2026 operating budget and authorizing the mayor and chief of police to accept a 2025 DOJ grant from the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for $88,319 and to utilize these funds to support law enforcement initiatives. Report of the Finance Committee. Agenda item 42, legislative file number 92598, amending the 2026 Police Department operating budget and authorizing the mayor to accept a Wisconsin Violence Prevention Grant Award of $59,650 for an 8-month gun violence reduction initiative to support those at risk. Report of the Finance Committee. Common Council President Madison. Items introduced from the floor. Legislative file 92971, authorizing the city to execute a field use agreement with the Madison Ultimate Frisbee League, use of certain athletic fields and city parks as set forth in the agreement, and continue contributions to establish segregated, non-reverting fund and a fee structure that supports the shared goals of supporting the use of the city's park space and providing quality maintenance of the city's athletic fields for the years of 2026 through 2030. Alder Glenn. Goes to Board of Park Commission on 5/13/2026, Finance Committee on 5/11, back to Common Council on 5/19. Legislative file number 92996, amending section 28.1047 of the Madison General Ordinances related to building site standards within the Transit-Oriented Development District to allow a different building footprint for stories above the first floor. Alder Figueroa Cole. Plan Commission public hearing on 6/1/26, back to Common Council on 6/9/26. There are no items with corrections.
Thank you, President Madison. Are there any other items that members of the body would like to see excluded from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, then I'll just go over that quickly. Items 16, 37, and 39 require 14 votes. Item 45 requires 15 votes. The recommendation on item 3 is to withdraw, so we will not take action on that item. Items 40 and 42 are excluded and both require 15 votes. We have 2 introductions from the floor, and that is the consent agenda. President Madison, a motion, please.
Motion to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of the consent agenda? Seeing no objection, Let me just explanatory comma. If you did object to the consent agenda in this room, you would ring in to make sure that I saw you, because I tend to look at that in addition to looking at all of you. Okay, so that will bring us then, seeing no objection, unanimous vote will be recorded. Thank you. That will bring us to public comment. We have one person wishing to speak on agenda item 40, which is amending the police department's 2026 operating budget and authorizing the mayor and chief to accept a US DOJ grant and to utilize the funds to support law enforcement initiatives. On item 40, our registrant wishing to speak is Erica Bach of Middleton, Wisconsin. Do we have Erica?
Hello, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for being here tonight. I am looking forward to hearing a presentation from Madison Police Department to speak to items number 40 and 42. And a tremendous thank you to President and Alder Madison for pulling those as well. This US DOJ grant is something that is annually applied for by the City of Madison. And in this case, it also requires, I believe, an MOU that would be signed potentially also by Dane County. What I need you all to please take a look at is while $88,319 is just a drop in the bucket of an over $100 million budget, it's not clear what law enforcement initiatives are. And so oftentimes this justice grant in the past has gone to technology. And does that mean something like what was just defeated at the county level, like Flock or surveillance systems? What does it mean in terms of what is going to be, what are the provisions? And so this also takes some precedence in item number 42, where there's a discussion about gun violence reduction initiatives, which sounds great. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that we need gun violence reduction. However, those funds are allocated to overtime. It's to run a pilot program. So I'm going to ask you all to really dig in a little bit deeper, and the same scrutiny, the same energy, as the young people say, the same energy that you bring to the oversight of the Police Civilian Oversight Board, or the same push that we have around funding for pilot programs in other areas around the police. I'd like to ask you all, in good faith and with equity, to apply that also when Madison Police Department continues to get rubber stamped, or these are passed through committee without maybe a slightly deeper understanding, which again, much gratitude that you'll be getting that hopefully tonight. It essentially sends the message to MPD that they are going to get whatever they want and that they can do whatever they want. And it's on record that right now, MPD is not, it's not trained to not kill. And so when items 40, 41, and 42 all give money to the police. Number 41, I didn't oppose because, of course, you need to have supplies at the firing range. But the firing range is, in fact, training MPD on how to shoot.
You have about 30 seconds left.
Thank you very much. So my plea to you all is to take a look at this and determine what exactly it is that you are approving monies for. Any extra money into the Madison Police Department is potentially money outside of Health and Human Services. Thank you all for your service. Please take a deeper look, and I ask that you oppose items 40, 41, and 42. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the registrant? Seeing none. And that is public comment for this evening. And we will go to item 40. Alder Okovitz? Did you?
I was waiting for you to get to questions for staff.
Okay. Thank you. You can be first for questions for staff. Item 40 is Legistar 92475, amending the Police Department's 2026 operating budget and authorizing the mayor and chief to accept a US DOJ grant and to utilize the funds to support law enforcement initiatives. On item 40, President Madison, a motion, please.
Motion to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Questions for staff, Alder Okovitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry for being early. Captain Patterson, so I see that one of the uses of this fund is for the strategic plan for MPD. Is that correct? Or for this grant, sorry.
Oh, that is correct, roughly $54,000. And thank you, Alder, for that. But it's not just for the strategic plan. It's really meant for an update to our current strategic plan. If you remember back in 2023, we utilized these same grant funding source to complete the original plan. We're now over halfway through. And so this is really to try to re-engage with our community and assess how far we've come with the original priorities. I think we can all agree a lot has changed in our community and across the nation. And I think it's time to take a look at priorities and just make sure that we're, staying contemporary and in lockstep with what our community would like us to focus on.
Okay. And then the remainder of the contract or the grant is for the Madison Community Policing Foundation. Is that right as well?
No, it's to sustain 7 more months of funding for our CPABs or our Community Police Advisory Boards. You may remember me talking to council a couple of years ago about the advisory board we created in the South District, which really became a model for replication in the other 5 districts. It's been funded for the last year and a half or so through a COPS micro grant, which is a different funding source. That expires this month. And so the hope is to use the $23,500 approximately dollars to keep it going through the end of the year. These, I think, are a big priority for me as your new chief. I really want our district command staff to stay connected to residents that are served by their districts. And this allows us to provide some small stipends to those who are participants and provide some funding for a coordinator position to take that is outside of the police department. It's a position funded through that nonprofit, which helps us coordinate the meetings, coordinate the events, take meeting minutes, all those busy type assignments that can be challenging, I think, for some of our commanders to undertake. So,
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. When I pulled it, I was going to just ask for an overview, but I think the alder probably got most of why you applied for the grant out there. But is there anything else that you have not shared on why you applied for the grant? And does it, just going to the speaker's question or comments, are you interested in using any of this money for purchasing flock cameras?
No, thank you, President Madison, for that question. There's really little in terms of applications for this grant. This is a very rare grant, which becomes available to most law enforcement agencies across the country, and it's largely based on a formula on a community's population and their crime rate. A city our size with a higher crime rate would have a much higher award. I mean, our award tends to be on the lower side in large part because we're doing well with our preventative efforts. But there is a component where I believe around 10% of the award must go to the county. And if you look back in previous years where we've come to you for approval on this grant, it's always gone, at least in my time, my 6 years managing the budget, it's always gone to Dane County Victim Witness. And so we've just sustained that. And so that's why that $10,820 is going to them. But again, it's an announcement that we don't have to actually apply for. It's essentially, here's the award that you qualify for. And then we have to get an approved budget and obviously come to all of you for budget review or a review of what are those law enforcement initiatives may be. And it has to be approved by all of you as well, since it's a budget amendment. I have no interest in flock cameras, as I've told all of you. My technology priority is body-worn cameras, and I'll be happy to continue to talk about all of those issues with you. But that is not being talked about at all in this particular grant. And any technology that involves surveillance, obviously, we would navigate the surveillance ordinance that the city has on file.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Well, the chief just answered that, but just to read, just a question for Attorney Haas. We do have an ordinance in place for cameras. Does that include any cameras, like the flood cameras? Wouldn't the council have to vote on something like that?
Thank you, Alder. Are you referring to the surveillance?
Yes.
Yeah, so any cameras that are intended primarily to identify individuals are subject to the surveillance technology ordinance.
Right, so that will come to council for approval. It's not something that the chief can unilateral make a decision about.
There are procedures, there's notification to alders, and then there's a decision by council leadership as to whether it comes to the council, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Pritchett, questions?
Yes. Chief, tell me, are you using data from the quarterly report or from the biannual report to determine what the initiatives are with respect to which areas will be targeted for some of the initiatives that you are proposing?
Well, again, this is to re-engage with the company that helped us create our current strategic plan that we're using. It's the Matrix Group is a private company that again guided us through a very comprehensive process to engage with our community, engage with the PCOB members, engage with some of you all, and help us come up with that 5-year plan with our 4 major priority areas. So it's the initiative, I guess, that I'm proposing in this is to bring them back and assess the progress that we've made over the last 3 years, but also re-engage with our community and talk to them about their current priorities, but also how we've done in their view with the previous priorities from 3 years ago. And really, my goal is to then get us a refreshed, so to speak, strategic plan for the next 5 years moving forward. So that's the big law enforcement initiative that's being proposed tonight, in addition to continuing the advisory boards that I think a lot of you have become familiar with over the last year.
So would it be fair to ask whether or not there are specific criteria that you will be using to establish, which initiative goes first, second, or third?
Well, this funding would fund all 3 of the initiatives, so to speak, that are proposed in the resolution. So the 54,000 is based on a projection that the Matrix Group gave us to do everything I just said that we wanted to achieve. And then the 23,500 is enough to get us through to January 2027 with our advisory boards, and it'll buy us some time, Alder, to contemplate and brainstorm other funding sources for hopefully long-term sustainability. And then the 10,800 is based off the rules of this particular award and the amount that we have to give to the county. And it's a reflection of that long-term partnership that we've had with Victim Witness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other questions for staff on item 40? Seeing none, item 40 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, item 40 has been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor. And go on to item 42. Item 42 is Legistar 92598, amending the 2026 Police Department operating budget and authorizing the mayor to accept a Wisconsin Violence Prevention Program grant award for an 8-month gun violence reduction initiative to support those at risk. On item 42, President Madison, a motion, please.
Motion to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt. Are there questions for staff on item 42? President Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as with 40, if you wouldn't mind just giving a brief overview of the item, Chief.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Madison. So this funding is different. This is coming through the state of Wisconsin If you remember, Governor Evers created the Office of Violence Prevention last year, and I think, there were some challenges with releasing funds to local municipalities. But this is from that funding through violence prevention funding through the state. And what we're proposing is essentially increasing our capacity and really hopefully trying something that we have dabbled in the past, and that I think is worth the effort and worth the overtime investment to evaluate and see if this is something that we should do with increased regularity. But we're calling it essentially a deter and refer type initiative. It's a partnership with public health. We collaborated with Dane County Public Health to actually come up with this concept and idea. And it'll be worked through our community safety intervention team, or you've probably heard us refer to it as CSIT, where we will, as a group, coordinate what are known in other communities as custom notifications. And what they essentially are like tailored in-person home visits that may or may not follow an act of violence in the community. It's essentially meant to inform individuals who may become the next victim of retaliatory violence or who may be connected to a homicide or attempted homicide, for example, that just occurred, and there may be concern based on analysis of the police department, public health, and our CSIT partners that they could be next, for example. So it's really meant to serve. I don't know. I hate to use this phrase, but it's like a wake-up call type visit, not like MTV Scared Straight or anything like that. I probably just carbon dated myself saying that reference, but it's meant to inform them and then offer them resources and try to connect them to resources and hopefully prevent further acts of violence. Again, we're going to try to bring in other partners like Middleton, Fitchburg, and Sun Prairie with this effort. I think it's got a lot of merit, and I think it's worth utilizing these funds. Now it's again, like the caller said, it is for law enforcement overtime, but it's to try to increase the capacity of our staff who are involved in these cases, who are investigating these cases, and frankly don't have the time always to try new initiatives. This will just be able to extend their work time and let us try a new prevention effort with our partners.
Alder Lieberman.
Thank you. Chief Patterson, I was wondering about how many overtime hours that $59,000 grant would equate to, and how many of these in-home visits you were hoping to, or not hoping to, but planning to conduct over this 8-month period.
Well, I apologize, Alder. I don't remember the average overtime rate for a detective, which is most likely what I should use to answer that question. But so I guess in short, I would have to email you back approximately how many hours that would allow for. I think that our goal is to utilize this before the end of the year, because then if we wait past 2026, we're not able to use the funds anymore. So there is a clock to it. So, certainly if there is an upswing or an uptick in violent incidents, we'll be very proactive and reactionary with these funds and expend them sooner probably than the end of December. But, knock on wood, if we keep trending in a positive way like we are now, I think we may try to spread them out throughout the year and maintain a more consistent effort. But at the end of this, we will evaluate the impact that we believe it had, talk with our partners, talk with members of CSIT, and see if this isn't something that should be more ingrained in our routine of violence prevention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Pritchett.
So, Chief, suppose there's a community that's experiencing a high rate of gun violence, and there are individuals within that community that is asking their district police officer to allow them to provide some input regarding corrective measures. would this particular district be open to that in terms of coming up with a plan, an actionable plan? And I say that primarily because many victims in communities know who some of the shooters are. But then there is this disconnect between police and the community. And many people know what's going on. How do you use that then in order to better integrate and get to the source of some of the problems that are there? Meaning developing a rapport, developing a trust, such that if something is about to occur, they will feel free to come and ask for help.
No, I appreciate you asking that question, Alder. Thank you. So again, this is a collaborative effort with public health, who are also in our neighborhoods and working with individuals and families and others who are at higher risk for victimization. It is also with members of CSIT, who are community stakeholders and community members. So we do have community voice that will be involved in this, and certainly it's not meant to be just the police department choosing who to go and visit. This is, again, a collaborative team approach. And, if done correctly, hopefully this really allows police officers or detectives who are involved to essentially make a warm handoff to a partner, maybe it's public health, to connect them with things like housing, employment, education referrals, whatever the factor may be that could be impacting them and increasing their risk.
I ask primarily because
You're on. You're on.
I ask because there are, at the end of a shooting, many times you'll hear some of those who have been affected by it, start asking questions. What do we do? When is this going to stop? It's those individuals that need to be targeted, that we really need to get some kind of connection with. And I think these are lost opportunities to better engage individuals who are experiencing this. The entire community is affected. And if you have 2 or 3 people who are asking those questions, why not sit with them, talk with them, and ask, what can we do? I understand Board of Health, mental health, those kinds of things. But at the same time, they're asking for some relief. And I think if we can engage them at that time, we'll be in a much, much better position to start drawing out those bad behavior people. But we can't do it if we don't engage.
No, I completely agree with you, Alder, and I appreciate you saying that. And that is a part of a lot of the overall efforts that we're doing as a team. Through both CSIT and our work through the Violence Prevention Unit of Public Health, through the mayor's bi-weekly violence prevention meetings, we're having those exact conversations and making those connections. So if it's not the police who are making the connection, maybe we're learning that information from public health or through the school district or through other partners who are members of CSIT. But this, again, this is a very small amount of money, to the caller's point, and it's really meant to surgically be used to try this new initiative where we're addressing specific individuals who may be at risk for example, retaliation. And so there's in my time with MPD, there's been a number of violent incidents which have then had retaliation events or more violence right after them. This is, for our staff and others through public health and CSIT to really take a close look at how often has someone been a victim, how often have they been involved in gun violence or been a witness to gun violence in the last couple of years, for example, and then trying to, make a very meaningful connection with them in an effort to deter those those incidents that we've all experienced in the past. But I agree with all of your points. This over time, however, is focused more so on this this loan initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Zhang.
Thank you. My question is this grant is there an existing strategy and plan, or are these funds going towards developing and then implementing?
There is a larger existing strategy, and again, this is part of our ongoing collaboration with the Violence Prevention Unit and the Community Safety Intervention Team. And this idea came through that collaboration. Again, we worked with public health to bring this forward. And it's specifically meant to try something that a lot of us have had discussions about, have attempted in the past. A decade ago when I was the lieutenant in our investigative services section in charge of the Violence Prevention Unit, we did try these custom notifications, but they take time to do well. They sometimes are challenging to do, especially in the midst of a major violent crime investigation. So it's really meant to complement our current violence prevention efforts and hopefully enhance them when acts of violence have occurred.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for being here and answering questions. And thank you for the work of MPD in addressing gun violence in our community. It seems like our numbers are down. The number of shootings, shots fired in the last 28 days, from what I understand, are down. And knock on wood, we've had very few actual gun-related homicides this year compared to previous years. A couple of questions. You mentioned retaliatory violence. Could you speak to the collaboration and cooperation that MPD has with one of those public health-funded agencies, Focused Interruption Coalition? It seems to me that FIC works specifically on this issue of trying to minimize retaliatory violence.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that, and you're correct, Alder. Our incidents are down, fortunately, still this year, and I appreciate the credit you give to our officers. I think they're out there doing a really fine job and working very hard. But it is truly a reflection, I think, of the collaborative work too that has been going on for a long time, and we've made some great connections with public health in the last couple of years. Certainly, I think the structured information sharing has just absolutely been critical to the overall success. But it's got to be nurtured, and we got to continue to push ourselves. And I think things like this really, I think, keep those doing the work energized, trying new ideas, and really trying to find new ways to connect meaningfully to individuals who may become victims of these crimes, or may become involved in these crimes, or may just be witnesses to them. But to your question with Focused Interruption, I mean, we've had a decade plus relationship with that particular entity, and I couldn't tell you the number of times that we've worked very closely with them and collaboratively with them. In recent times now, they've been very instrumental in their work at the hospitals. As a lot of you know, when an act of violence happens in the community of gun violence specifically, there's a lot of people that rush to our hospitals, both that are directly connected to the victim and even those who are not. And it becomes a location where retaliation could happen, or further violence could happen. But it's also a really critical place, I think, where this type of prevention also needs to immediately happen in the aftermath, because as emotions are high, as people are processing the tragic incident that just occurred, they're making emotional decisions, they're making quick decisions, and that handoff at the hospital specifically that FIC has been helping with has been incredibly important. And then they are doing a lot of preventative work. Alder, I commented to you a month or so ago, I went to just an amazing event where firearms were being, traded in by community members and turned into garden tools. And I know that's been going on for a little while, but it was the first time in my career that I've seen it, and it's impressive, and I think it really helps shift the mindsets of many in our community. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief. And follow-up question. The caller made the statement that MPD officers are not trained not to kill. Could you address the issues of de-escalation training within the department, and maybe speak also about, what is it called, the use of force continuum? So perhaps folks can understand that a little bit more about MPD's desire to handle situations in a nonviolent manner whenever possible.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Alder. So the phrase "shoot to kill" is, in my almost 30 years with MPD, I've never been trained that, and I've only heard it, on television or read it somewhere or that type of thing. So we are not. That's not how I've ever been trained. That's not how we train our officers. The use of deadly force is something that can only occur under extreme circumstances, obviously. And so while it's important and we're required by the state to stay proficient in our firearms, and that has to happen to keep certified police officers on your police department, we spend an enormous amount of time around other ways to bring control to situations. And obviously, first and foremost, and frankly, the most critical is what we're doing now. We're talking. Our verbal abilities are the most important tool, I think, that we have. Our ability to connect with individuals, to explain what's occurring, to listen to them meaningfully, to relate to them, to engage them. That is incredibly important. And I think as we talk about procedural justice and what it means in policing, to me, that's exactly what it means. And what I want our officers to always think about is, on each and every call that they're going to, how are they engaging with this person? How are they relating with the person that they're serving? How are they listening to them, like truly listening to them? And how are they explaining not just, what's occurring, but what may occur next, what has perhaps occurred in the past? I mean, that's critical information and abilities that all of our officers have to constantly evaluate and try to improve from one call to the next. But starting in our pre-service academy, every police officer in the state of Wisconsin is required to go through 720 hours of training. And so a lot of our curriculum is guided by the state to get our officers from, whatever point in life that they're coming to us from, to then certifiable in the state of Wisconsin as an officer. And that includes de-escalation training, that includes use of force training, from the lowest levels of force all the way up to, of course, deadly force, like was referenced in the caller's comments. But we take our pre-service academy, we tailor it for the Madison police officer, and it's added to. So our academy experience is roughly over 1,000 hours. So we add certain important concepts like cultural competency training that can also include important elements of professional communications. When I talked about procedural justice, it can also include de-escalation. We add a lot of scenario-based training where officers are placed in live scenarios with actors. And, it's like it can be at times a choose your own adventure type book, if you remember those, where if the officer does not do well enough in their professional communications, it may go a different direction, or it could be set to go on a direction where there has to be physical force. But if the officer does a better job, then it de-escalates. So all of those then scenarios are involved with debriefings and with instructors, evaluations, and it's really meant to be an adult learning experience where, we're able to talk through mistakes, talk through what we're being taught and improving as we go. So that I'm kind of rambling now, maybe, Alder, but hopefully that addresses some of your
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask more of probably a reporting question on the grants. So are you, how are you tracking success, I guess? What does a successful grant look like? For both, I'm sorry, I should have asked for both, but I guess for 42, what would success look like with this grant?
Well, that's a good question, Alder. So we're obviously going to track the number of custom notifications that we perform. I think we'll look at how the individuals that we notified did, both in their connections with our community and connections with violence prevention unit, and whether or not they became re-engaged with acts of violence or re-engaged with, I guess, concerning, type behavior around gun violence. But again, this is meant, and I'm sure you've heard people from public health say this as well, but preventative work is often very hard to measure.
Yeah.
What doesn't occur, it's hard to evaluate, but I think we'll really look at this qualitatively to see too, have we been able to connect some of these people who are at higher risk with some important needs that may have previously been unmet as well. And so we're hoping that this will also improve our ability to give a warm handoff, so to speak, to our violence prevention counterparts, where they have the ability to connect to housing and employment and education resources that exist in the community. But we will keep good statistics. But as far as the prevention piece goes, that's always a challenge on how to measure.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to kind of connect a question that Alder Evers had of Focus Interruption sits on CSET, correct? And is part of that whole group.
That's right. I failed to mention that. Thank you for saying that, Alder. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Do you know everybody that's on that group? I mean, because I think it's a really great, I don't know if everyone in the group knows who's on the group. I can help you if you need help.
I would love your help.
It is, I believe, Fitchburg Police, some Prairie Police, Madison Police, newly added, I believe Stoughton is coming, but then it is Focus Interruption, Youth Justice from Dane County Human Services, Public Health, Violence Intervention and Prevention,
MMSD, I think is theirs.
School district.
School district, and I think that's it. Multiple players from each of those organizations too. So what I liked about this was that the grant was written around CSIP because it brings in the eyes of multiple people doing the work rather than just one, which we know then that's those silos and we don't know what everyone's doing. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Pritchett, questions?
Yes, thank you. I want to pick Alder Evers said about de-escalation and use of force, along with the statement that you made regarding the state mandated curriculum. Now, does the curriculum include not only the psychological kinds of things that happen, but the physiological aspects? What happens, when one is beginning to act on something? Are there things included in the curriculum that deals with, let's say, your heart rate, your breathing increases? All of this is part and parcel of de-escalation or escalation. So if that is not included in the curriculum, then how are we in a position to say that, absent looking at the physiological aspects, that what we're doing is going to yield the results that we're looking for? We have to look at both.
Alder, I'm going to stop you. I allowed a little bit down this road of de-escalation because of the nature of the public comment, but what's before us is a grant, which is not about de-escalation. I am going to suggest to council leadership that it would probably be useful for this council to get a presentation from the Violence Prevention Unit, because there's clearly still a lot of questions about their work. And although I'll suggest specifically to you that a conversation with the chief about that curriculum would probably be useful, because I think you're making a good point. It's just not
the right
on the grant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. All right. Alder Madison, is it a question?
It was just.
Okay. So we're still on questions for staff. Are there any additional questions for staff on our item 42? Seeing none, item 42 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on item 42? Alder Madison.
Thank you, Mayor. Seeing the great discussion around this item, I did note to schedule a presentation that would include a discussion between MPD Violence Prevention and the partner agencies. So,
thank you, Alder. Is there any further discussion on item 42? Seeing none, item 42 has been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record that unanimous vote in favor. Thank you, Chief, for answering questions. That will bring us to the end of our agenda. Are there any further introductions of items from the floor? Seeing none, are there any announcements? Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you. So this week is Madison Housing Week. So if you guys don't know what that is, which I learned today that some of you don't know what that is, you can go to the website called madisonhousingweek.com and get, you'll find their schedule there. So this whole week from Sunday to Friday, each day they have either one or two activities to talk about housing from different aspects of the conversation. And it's sponsored by AARP. So if you didn't make any of the past events, you still have time to do so. Tomorrow there's an event, on Thursday and on Friday there's 2 events. Some of them are online and some of them are in person. So I highly, highly recommend that you guys take a look. This is our 3rd year and it's super exciting to see so many perspectives and so many things that we should be doing or can be doing or other people are doing on regarding to housing. Thank you. MadisonHousingWeek.com.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Okovitz?
Yeah, just to add on to Alder Figueroa Coles, I believe some of the events have free tacos.
That was today, you missed it.
That was today. I think there's free. Okay, I think there's free food at some of the events.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other announcements? Seeing no other announcements, Alder Uguer, it's your turn.
Move adjournment.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of adjournment? Seeing no objection, we stand adjourned. Have a good evening.